Hey everyone, I'm Dave, and today we're going to be making the world's best mac and cheese, according to Google. So let's go to Google like we always do and figure out what Google says the world's best mac and cheese recipe is. Alright, so it looks like our top result actually has 5 out of 5 stars from Mom on the Time Out. So let's go check it out and see what we got going on. Looks pretty good. I don't actually usually like breadcrumbs on my mac and cheese, but all the fancy mac and cheeses call for it, so we're going to do it. So yeah, I looked this one up. I went to the store. All right, so I'm headed to the grocery store, hoping that I can figure out what in the world Gruyere cheese is, because I Googled world's best mac and cheese recipe, and one of the ingredients is this cheese I've never heard of. So, let's see what we can find. Found it. I had to get help. I couldn't figure it out. It says it's got to be shredded, so I guess I'll shred it myself. I had to figure out what Gruyere cheese is, but I did figure it out. It's called Gruyere. I don't know how to say it, guys. Let me know in the comments how you say Gruyere. But I got that, and I got all the other ingredients. So let's go through the ingredient list really quick. Okay, first off, it calls for 16 ounces of mac and cheese, like, you know, elbow noodles. This is Barilla. I usually get that one because it's cheap and easily available. Then it says extra virgin olive oil, tablespoon of that. Unsalted butter. I mean, what's the point? Why wouldn't you want salt in your butter? But anyways, unsalted butter. I bought it because that's what the recipe calls for. Flour, like actual flour. I don't think I've ever put flour in a mac and cheese recipe, so that'll be interesting. 3 cups of whole milk. Where is it? Whole milk right there. 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, 4 cups of shredded cheddar. Now, in regards to the shredded cheddar, I bought unshredded stuff because I've heard that if you use pre-shredded stuff, it gets, it doesn't melt down quite right and makes it greasy. So I'm gonna shred it myself like a fancy boy. This Gruyere cheese, I'll never figure out how to say this. I'm gonna shred that as well. Salt and pepper, obviously. I mean, that's a given. You gotta put salt and pepper on everything. Panko breadcrumbs. I actually got the 4C brand. Really good brand name, 4C. Half a cup of Parmesan cheese shredded. I went fancy and got this pre-shredded stuff. Hopefully it's okay. And a little smidgen of smoked paprika. So that's it. Those are the ingredients that are somehow gonna make the world's best mac and cheese. Definitely a lot more going on than I normally, would make. Generally, I'll just do Velveeta and some mac and cheese and call it done, or I'll do the box that's pre-made. So let's get to work. It says to start off, I'm supposed to preheat the oven to 350, which is interesting. So that's preheated, and it also says to lightly grease a large 3 or 4 quart baking dish and set aside. So I don't know, how would you grease it, guys? We can use this one, and we will grease it. I guess we could grease it with butter, or we could grease it with like spray Pam. I'm gonna use this open unsalted butter I have, and I'm just gonna grease it with that. I use this to make grilled cheese, so just use that same butter and just grease it up. And basically, I guess this is just to make sure that the stuff doesn't stick on the bottom of the pan once it's done. So I'm also gonna do the sides here. We're just gonna have some amazing mac and cheese. Mac and cheese has gotta be one of the best foods in the world, right? I can't help but do that when I'm focused. I stick my tongue out. It's so stupid. I've always done it since I was a kid. My dad does it too. And he's like 65 years old, he still does it. Like, for some reason, sticking my tongue out is gonna make this easier to cook. Give my hands a wash to get the butter off of them. Okay, so we've got this. It says to set it aside, so we'll do that. We'll just put it over there for now, no problem. And then it says cook the pasta 1 minute shy of al dente according to the package instructions. Yeah, okay, that's pretty typical. Package instructions will say to put a bunch of water in a pot, and then once it starts boiling, you put the pasta in and cook it for 7 minutes, this says. So we'll cook this for 7 minutes in a hot thing of water. All right, so I've set my water in there. I've got it set on high. We're gonna let it come to a boil. I'm gonna throw a little salt in there. It helps it boil faster, helps the pasta not stick together. So we'll do that. And while we wait, we'll look at what the next steps are. So that'll take like 5-10 minutes to come up to boil, maybe a little less, we'll see. But as we wait, we're gonna look at the next step involved in making the world's best mac and cheese. So what we're gonna do for us, since we didn't buy pre-shredded, is we're gonna have to shred this stuff, and that's gonna be a little bit of an arduous process. Now, I don't know much about this Gruyere cheese, but I'm gonna assume I have to take this husk off. It's probably like not super edible and hard. So we're just gonna cut that off like so. Kind of stinky. And this is what I use to shred my cheese. It's this big grater, and I just, put it up against it and go up and down, and voila, we're grating cheese. Isn't that exciting? So there's what comes out. I mean, we could go finer, so the different sides are different fineness, but I don't think, no matter what, we're gonna be melting this, so it doesn't really matter how fine we go. You can kind of see it coming out there as I do this at the bottom probably on that camera. And it says we're looking for 2 cups of Gruyere cheese. So 2 cups total. That's probably gonna be the whole thing, and we might even be a little shy. We'll see. Hopefully we have enough in here. This was like fairly expensive, this cheese, so I didn't wanna buy 2. Now you gotta be careful when you get to the end of this because it can cut your fingers. It is sharp, and you gotta make sure you don't cut your fingers just like a table saw or something. That's not gonna really shred. I mean, obviously it's a little different than a table saw because a table saw you're gonna cut your finger off. This is just gonna slice your finger. It's still not fun, not pleasant. Don't recommend it. I've done it. Not the table saw thing. My dad did that. My dad chopped his finger off with a table saw. This is a really good topic while cooking, right? Dismembered fingers. Ta-da! Look at that beautiful thing. So we want 2 cups of that, and we're gonna put it in our bowl. We're gonna combine all our cheeses, I think. Actually, before I do that, I should read ahead and make sure they all get added at the same time. Yeah, so from here on in the recipe, it just calls the cheese. It doesn't say a specific cheese, so I'm assuming it all happens simultaneously. There's 1 cup of Gruyere. Here's a 2nd cup of Gruyere. And now this will be the leftover. We can put it in a Ziploc and save it for later. So yeah, the recipe calls for 2 cups of that, just 2. Now the cheddar, oh, our oven's preheated. That's what that noise was. The cheddar was, they call for a little bit more cheddar. They call for 4 cups of cheddar. So I bought 2 of those. And so again, the same thing. We're just gonna shred the cheddar. Shredder in the cheddar. Remember Shredder from Ninja Turtles? See, look, make little piles of shredded cheddar. All right, so let me shred this and I'll be right back. We need 4 cups of this. I'm working up a sweat here, guys. It's actually, it is actually really hard. I mean, it's not hard, but it's tiring. All right, let's see how much we're up to. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we need 1 more cup worth. So I'm gonna have to open the other one. I'm not gonna grind the whole thing. I can use this on crackers and stuff. That looks like about a cup to me. Yep. All right, so we got 4 cups of cheddar and then 2 cups of Gruyere. We can throw a little extra cheddar in there. Cheddar's better. I'm gonna take all my remnants here, just a little over, that's okay. I'm excited about this. You know, the other day we made the world's best grilled cheese and I wasn't super excited because the recipe seemed very weak and it ended up not being the best. You'll have to go watch that video. But this recipe is unique and legitimately exciting, so I'm looking forward to trying this. Now let's get our other ingredients ready real quick. First off, just like measured out, right? We need 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I got a big mess here. Just move it out of the way a little bit. We had a pretty huge storm last night and our backyard flooded. I'm kind of looking back there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, to see if it's kind of dried up yet. It hasn't yet, but it's getting there. All right, so we're gonna need 6 tablespoons of butter. There's obviously measurement on the side of this one I got, but you could use a tablespoon to measure it if you needed to. Our water is boiling, so that's a good thing. Now we're gonna put our mac and cheese in. So this is a whole box, 16 ounces. Pop it in here. And here's the key thing, when you put in mac and cheese, or any sort of noodle, always at least give it 1 stir or it'll stick together. So, sorry, I'm getting kind of educational here. It's one of the things I'm good at cooking is mac and cheese and pasta. So yeah, just go ahead and stir it up so they don't stick together. Set our timer for 7 minutes. I'll probably set mine for, let's see, it said 7, so we're gonna do what it says. That seems like not long enough, but we'll see what happens. And now we'll let that boil and we'll continue working on getting everything prepped. 1 cup of whipping cream. So let's get our milks measured. We need a cup of heavy whipping cream. Are you supposed to shake heavy whipping cream? I don't know, I did it. We'll just get 1 cup measured out right here. I've got it turned towards me, but I'll turn it towards you guys. See, 1 cup. I mean, based on your angle, let's see. I need to add a little tiny bit more. There you go, 1 cup of heavy cream. And we'll just put that aside as well. I'm gonna give another stir to the mac and cheese here. Keep it separated. Gotta keep them separated. You guys know that song? Comment below. All right, let's measure out our other ingredients. So we're gonna need 1/2 cup, I think, of this shredded Parmesan cheese. Pop it open. 1/2 cup of, my wife calls it stinky cheese. Oh, so the Parmesan, usually it's good to read a whole recipe ahead of time. The Parmesan, look at this. The Parmesan looks like it's part of the topping, that breadcrumb topping, so I don't want to mix it with that cheese there. So just so you guys know, don't combine the Parmesan with that cheese. Just set it aside, and we'll use that later when we make our breadcrumb mixture. So the mac and cheese is cooking pretty good, nice and bubbly, boily. and exciting. 3 cups of whole milk. I have this giant one, but you could just use a smaller one and measure out 3 cups like that. I do like this giant one though, because I can do big measurements all at one time. 3 cups. Some milky mac and cheese, I'll tell you that. It's more than I've ever used in a mac and cheese. And let's get rid of this cutting board. We don't need it anymore. All right, so I showed 3 minutes left on the pasta. What we're gonna do next, we're gonna make the cheese sauce. Actually, here's what it says. It says drizzle pasta once it's done and I've drained it. It says to drizzle it with olive oil to stir and coat and set aside to cool. So let me get a big bowl to put that in. Can't I just use the same bowl? It's telling me to use a different bowl, but I kind of just want to use the same one. I'm not gonna move my camera, but I'm gonna pour, once the pasta's done, I'm gonna pour it into this, and then all the water comes out and just the pasta will remain. They call it straining it. So I'm not gonna put my camera over there to show you. Maybe in the future I will. I'm just not that fancy yet. This is bubbling over like a volcano, so maybe give it a little stir. You know, someone showed me a trick once. I might turn it down just a hair so it doesn't go over. Someone showed me a trick once, which I can't find a wooden spoon, but I think you put a wooden spoon over the top, it'll keep it from overflowing. Pretty sure that's the trick. Anyways, I'm gonna get the cheese sauce ready, so I need a big saucepan. Hold on one second. All right, so we still need to measure out our flour. We haven't done that yet, and that's gonna be for the cheese sauce, which means we're probably making a roux. That's probably what the flour is for. Oh, that's the noodles beeping. So we've got a 1/3 cup of flour. I'm gonna bring it over here. Checking the noodles. Yeah, they feel pretty good. They feel pretty soft, so I'm gonna take them off and strain them, like I said before. Okay, so now that that's off, I actually don't want to put it on the heat. I'm gonna put it right next to the heat here, hold on. So this is something I've never done either, but it says to take a tablespoon of olive oil and put it on there, on the actual noodles that have just finished cooking. And I know I didn't show you, but I just poured it on there. And then stir in that olive oil and let the noodles cool. So I've got these in here with the olive oil. We're gonna let them cool. We're gonna set them aside and we're gonna work on the sauce. And so for the sauce, we're gonna use another stock pot. It says saucepan or stock pot, and we're gonna set the heat to medium, and then we're gonna melt the butter in that stock pot. So we'll put the butter in there, we'll let it start melting, and then once it's melted, we're gonna add the flour. Figured bring my camera over for this part because I'm gonna be over here for a little bit. So we've got the butter melting here. We're going to add the flour in a second. Actually, I'm gonna grab my milk, because if you read ahead, it says that we're gonna add the flour. We're gonna keep stirring it for about a minute until it's golden, and then we're gonna add our milks. So just to keep my life simple, I'm bringing over my milks and all my other ingredients. I'm gonna set them on the counter here. I'm just gonna set them on the stove actually. Maybe not best practice, but that's what I'm gonna do. Just so I have easy access to them. I'm gonna grab my cheese as well. Got all my cheese mix here. And what else do I need? Maybe the salt and pepper and the paprika. That's at least what I guess I would need for this next section. I'll look at it in a second. So this butter is mostly melted. I'm gonna switch over to like a spatula here. I'm gonna add in the flour to the pot here. And we're gonna stir that pretty vigorously because this could get burnt pretty quick. And we're gonna do this for 1 minute. It actually says to whisk it. So I guess I should be using a wire whisk. Found one. Whisk in flour over medium heat and combine. And it says until bubbly and golden. I think we're already at bubbly and golden, so we're probably going to move on to the next step really soon. Yeah, that's bubbly and golden to me. It was really only like 40 seconds. Maybe I got my heat a little high. So I'm gonna start gradually adding in maybe another 10 seconds. No, maybe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, this is golden, right? Is that yellow or golden? Oh, it's golden. All right, we're gonna start adding in our milk. You gotta make sure you add enough so it hardens up. I guess if you don't let the roux and the flour go long enough, it could technically not ever thicken. And so the roux, this part of the roux is gonna help it thicken if we do it properly. So I always get a little nervous that I'm gonna screw this part up. Also because I have screwed it up. I'm calling that golden, yeah? Okay, let's add it. It's been a minute. I wanted to wait the full minute because that's what I called for. I've been counting. So we're adding in here the milk and the heavy cream. It says gradually, but instead I'm just gonna spill it everywhere. That's all right. This is a lot of milk. Okay, so I'm just gonna add it all because that's what it says, and I don't see anywhere where it says not to add it all. You know, in some recipes it'll say add to some certain consistency or something, but that just said to add it, so we're adding it all. Guys, if this is your first time here, we do our best to cook whatever Google says the best of a certain recipe is in the world, and I'm no pro cook, as you can tell. I'm just winging it, but I think it's, you know, how most people are cooking dinner. So make sure you subscribe if you enjoy this, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments what I should try next. Okay, so it says to continue to whisk it until you see bubbles on the surface. I don't know how fast I'm supposed to whisk it. I mean, there's bubbles when I stir it, so I'm not really sure. This instruction's not very clear to me. I'm supposed to continue whisking, but before I do that, I'm going to mix up these cheeses. It says to add them 2 cups at a time, but it doesn't say in what order, so I'm assuming I'm gonna add them all together and mixed up like this. So I'm just mixing them up real quick. Okay, so as far as this goes, we're supposed to keep whisking it non-stop. I was being lazy there for a minute, and I stopped. And we're waiting for bubbles to appear. I don't know. This is always something I struggle with when it comes to making sauces and stuff, is the roux process, which is what I think this is called. So it says whisk until you see bubbles on the surface. I am starting to see some little bubbles here as I do this, more so than we had before. You see how it's kind of making some little bubbles there? And it wasn't before when I was doing this, so I think that's a good sign. I think that's what it says we should have. It says, continue cooking. Once you see bubbles, continue whisking for 2 minutes. That's a long time to whisk, but okay. I'm gonna set my timer for 2 minutes, and I'm gonna do this for 2 minutes. So this will be a little boring. I'll be back after the timer goes off. Almost done, 30 seconds left of stirring. Got a lot of, elbow grease goes into this mac and cheese, for real. So up next, what it says I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add 2 cups of my shredded cheese mix. Timer's gonna go off in 5 seconds. Thank the Lord. Okay, so it's hot over here, I'll tell you that, because I've got the oven on, I'm cooking on the top. Okay, so 1 cup, and basically I'm just filling this up and putting it in. It says 2 cups worth of cheese. Put it in there and then integrate it all nice and good. Beautiful. And then once it melts, we're gonna add 2 more cups. It's starting to thicken up for sure. It's looking yummy. I'm pretty excited. I love me some mac and cheese, guys. That looked pretty good right there? Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Let me get 2 more cups. 1, 2, and then we'll add the rest with the next one. Oh, I skipped a step. Okay, so before you put in the cheese, you're supposed to add a little salt and pepper. It doesn't really matter if you do that late though. So let me add a little salt and pepper. Not that much, that's way too much. A little pepper. It says to taste, so I'm just gonna do a little bit, and then some salt. Add a little salt, and then we'll keep stirring. Sorry, can't believe I forgot that. Throwing in the rest of the cheese now. Extra cheesy. That looks like a good sauce. I just messed that up. Listen guys, this is what you're gonna get when I'm cooking. And we're not gonna fix it, because I can't fix it. I messed it up permanently. I was supposed to put the last 2 cups of grated cheese on the top, and I put it in it. So that was a pretty epic fail, guys. I've got too much cheese in here. I don't think it's gonna be the worst thing in the world, but this is what's gonna happen if you're cooking with Dave. I'll make sure I put in the video a warning for you guys so you don't make the same mistake that I just made. I've never been upset in my life that I had too much cheese on a mac and cheese though, so I'm not that stressed. I think it's just gonna be better. So next step is to stir in the pasta into these noodles. So we're just gonna add those. Oh look, they've kind of turned into like a bowl-shaped mac and cheese. Mix those in. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. Look how cheesy that looks, guys. Looks amazing. That's exciting. That looks amazing. Okay, so we've got it all in there, and it looks like our next step is to add this mac and cheese to our pasta dish, but only half of it. So I'm gonna dump half of it into our dish. Okay, so we're back over here, and we're going to keep working on this dish. I don't need those, I don't think. So the next step it actually calls for. So during the whole sauce process, we were only supposed to put 4 of the cups of cheese in. So we're supposed to do 2, integrate it, 2, integrate it, then add the noodles, which would leave us with 2 additional cups. So this next step is to add half of the mac and cheese, like so. Shake it around a little to get it all stirred in, and then add the other 2 cups of cheese, which you probably still have. Since I already used that and I don't want it to be way too cheesy, I'm just gonna do like a cup basically of cheese across the top to have layered in here. So it'll not be too much extra cheese, but it'll be a little extra cheese, which again, not a terrible thing to have extra cheese. I think it'll still be the world's best mac and cheese. Spread it out a little here, maybe a little down here. Beautiful. Okay, so that should be all right. All right, so we're good. Now you guys use your 2 cups of cheese that you hadn't already wasted. And now we're gonna add the rest of the mac and cheese on top of that layer. And of course it looks absolutely delicious. I'm very excited about this. So I'm just gonna spread this a little to make sure it goes over this cheese nice and evenly here. That looks pretty good. We're gonna now work on the topping. Obviously the topping is optional, the breadcrumb topping. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the breadcrumb topping calls for 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to use salted because I prefer it, and it doesn't specify. Now what it does specify is that that butter should be melted, so I'm melting it in the microwave right now. All right, so we've got this melted butter here. Pull this towards me a little. We're just gonna try to get it melted all the way here. It's not fully melted. I don't want to burn it either, so gotta be careful. Now to this, I'm gonna add my Parmesan cheese, my 1/2 cup from earlier, and my panko breadcrumbs, which calls for 1.5 cups. Can't leave the microwave open, because then I'll bash my head on it. So there's 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs, and 1/2. I went over a little. Here, let me put a little back. There you go. All right, so now we stir that all up. Oh, and the last thing we need to add is a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. The recipe called for a 1/4 tablespoon of smoked paprika or paprika. I figured I'd go the extra mile and actually go buy real live smoked paprika, but I'm sure you'd be fine using just normal paprika. Add a little of that to give it a little color here. Let's mix it all in. This actually could be a pretty good topping. I don't think I've ever seen anyone put cheese in the topping before. That could be pretty good. So we're just mixing it all nice and good. Oops, we're about to have the world's best mac and cheese, so I'm getting pumped. And now we're supposed to dump it over the noodles. Spread it out a little. Putting this baby to bed. All right, so we're good. Now we put it in the oven for 30 minutes. It says to put it in the oven for 30 minutes until it's bubbly and golden brown. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put it in for 30 minutes, and while it cooks, I'm gonna clean up my mess a little. All right, let's take a look. Does that look bubbly? Yeah, it definitely looks bubbly. That looks like it'll burn my mouth if I go right in on it. Let me pull it out and let's take a look. What do you think, guys? Looks pretty good. This is the world's best mac and cheese. Maybe. We'll see. Let me get a chair. All right, so I have a cohort in crime here named Callie. Say hi.
Hello.
Callie's my 7-year-old. She is a mac and cheese connoisseur, so we're gonna test this one together and see if it truly is the world's best mac and cheese. So let's kind of break into it. It's a little crunchy. You hear that? A little crunchy. So let's just break into it and...
Bruh. Looks hot.
It does look hot. Does it look good?
Yeah.
There's what it looks like, guys. Got to show the viewer what it looks like. There's yours. You overwhelmed?
No.
And then mine.
For it to cool down.
Yeah, it's gonna be very hot, that's true. All right, so world's best mac and cheese. Let me move this and then I'll be right back. And I'm ready to try this, Callie. It might be too hot, so let me try it first and then I'll tell you if it's okay to try. Get a nice spoonful, well, forkful.
Forkful.
And we're gonna see if this is the world's best mac and cheese. Here it goes. Oh, look at it. Look at it steaming. Let me blow on it a little. Does that even work?
Blown it like 20 times.
Oh, wait. Oh, down the hatch.
I think you made this before. You did.
You could try it. You just gotta blow on it first. It's not that hot.
Is it good? Take a small bite.
That bite was hot. Blow it. Whew.
Pretty good.
It is good, yeah. It's good mac and cheese. Is this the best mac and cheese? It's close. It's close. Have I had better mac and cheese than this?
Yes.
You have? What would you give this out of 10?
5.
A 5? Kids.
9. Pretty good.
You got water all over your face. A 9, okay. I can definitely taste the Gruyere cheese, the different cheese for me, not something I've had often, but it is definitely unique and I do like it. I would say, okay, so my knee-jerk reaction to this, honestly, is to add a little more salt and a little more pepper. So maybe I under-seasoned it a little bit. This kind of, I would say this lines up with my favorite mac and cheese recipe that I've ever cooked, and that was another big, long process like this. Normally I just cook Velveeta or something simple, but if I'm feeling fancy or having an event and people are coming over, I'll cook something like this. And this would definitely be something I would cook for a big group because it is very good, it's unique tasting, and I do like it. So I would say that this is like a 9 out of 10 for me, mac and cheese wise. Maybe a 10 out of 10, a little more salt and pepper. Like it's It's kind of a perfect mac and cheese. I think Google did a good job, so well done, Google. First time you've gotten it right in a while. This is the world's best mac and cheese, according to me and Google. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe. We'll see you next time. So I turned off my lights, but now I'm on my phone. I just wanted to one more time come back. I'm still sitting here eating this mac and cheese. This crust that they've got with the Parmesan and the panko has really crisped up, and it's amazing. This crust is amazing. This is actually a really good mac and cheese. I added a little salt and pepper, and now I'm calling it a 10 out of 10. This is a perfect mac and cheese. I absolutely love it. Definitely try this one out, and maybe make the mistake I made, because it's probably just even better because I added extra cheese. All right, thanks guys.